Ladies and gentlemen, Kathryn Oberly and Haynes Johnson.
Can't see any of you, but thank you, because it really is a great pleasure to receive this award. My ties to Wisconsin have been strong since the first day I set foot on campus, even though it was a very cold day in January. But this recognition today will ensure that those ties remain very, very strong. As soon as I arrived in 1969, I felt the energy of the university merged with the politics of a state capital and the vibrant city of Madison, all combined to make this the place to get the best possible education. I did, of course, my classroom work, but outside the classroom, I was also able to participate in the life of the community, and it made it all that much better an education. Madison was at that time a microcosm of the country at large, and although I was an observer, not a demonstrator, I learned as much outside the classroom as in it. And it is probably what persuaded me to stay here for law school, which Ken, Dean Davis, told me right at the reception this afternoon wasn't actually allowed to be done in the way I did it at the time, but I'm glad he wasn't here to prevent it. Glad it worked out the way it did, and happy to be here to have this great start here to a endlessly fascinating legal career that remains that way today. I owe a great debt to the University of Wisconsin for launching me on that career, and at a multi-dimensional university that is probably one of the hardest to beat in the country. To receive this award from the Wisconsin Alumni Association is a great tribute that I will always remember. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I would echo those words. I feel very proud and honored to be here in this group. And I'd like to say a word about Uncle Arnie. And really, that's the great American story. Watching that is incredible. I wish he were here, and I wish his family would extend our wishes and pride in what he has done. The life he led, coming here the way he did, is the classic American story, and Wisconsin has every right to be infinitely proud of him. And I'm glad his family and friends are here with us. I want to say a couple of words about this university and how I happened to come here. I noticed in the video, it talked about how after 3 years in the Army, I came here because a former professor of mine, who I worked for as an undergraduate at Missouri in history, I had a double major, said, I asked him, where should I go for graduate work in American history? I really wanted to get on with it. He said, there are only two places, Harvard and Wisconsin. You go to Wisconsin. That's the place of, you know, Frederick Jackson Turner, Merrill Curdy was on the faculty, all these people, and I came here, and I have never regretted it. It was an incredible episode. When I came here in '55, it was a very grim, terrible time. I don't have to remind any of you. The country was fearful. We were still in the height of the Cold War. Children were hiding under their desks for the atomic tests or bomb to come. All that was taking place, and there was a great deal of fear and concern and attacks on government servants, public officials across the country. Sounds familiar to you? It is familiar today. And the echoes of that is something I wanted to talk about. When I was here, Joe McCarthy was still riding high, and he never dared to take on the University of Wisconsin. He went to Marquette, as you know. But he did give us He did give a speech when I was here in that first period, and he said, even our University of Wisconsin boasts that it has the greatest collection of communist literature, Stalin, Trotsky, Lenin, and so forth, and they're actually sharing this with their students. I was going through those papers myself at the Wisconsin Historical Society, and so was an older person, a few years older than I, who was named Bill, and he got his PhD, I got my master's. He turned out to be William Appleman Williams, the new guru of the New Left. But the thing that was fascinating about that episode is that when that story was told about that time, and the newspaper reporters immediately surrounded the chancellor of the university and said, Well, what about this? You have all this communist literature. What are you doing with it? Is it true? And they simply said, yes, we intend to increase it. And I thought, that's what a great university does. It stands up to demagogues. It simply rings the bell for freedom of speech, academic integrity, and that's the Wisconsin story. And I really do believe, I've thought about the history of here, the La Follettes and all that. This has been the test tube of democracy. From the beginning, we would not have had the history of the 20th century had it not been for the La Follettes, the Reform movement taking on Teddy Roosevelt, Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, all the way up are people who benefited from the reforms started here. And there was one thing, I saw the picture of Bascom Hall, and I'd look down there. This is the thing that strikes me so pertinent today. There was the state capital of Wisconsin. Here was the great university. The idea of the reform movement here was to bring those two together. It was never a separate academic enclave. In fact, they wanted to be, that was where you celebrated public service. You wanted the best in the country for the best of America, not the worst. You want to divide, you want to unite, not divide the country, and that's what we have, and we need that today. There's been no more important legacy, it seems to me, that America could have to remember the Wisconsin idea and to celebrate it on Wisconsin.
Kay and Haynes, thank you so very much. Terrific, absolutely terrific.